What is up, guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing an overview and a review of the Singapore Grand Prix last weekend. It was a very entertaining yet boring Grand Prix, as you would get on a street circuit, as there are not many places to overtake, but also that being a street circuit and treacherous weather conditions, there are loads of corners people can crash into. So it was eventful but boring. But even before the race began, there were controversies all around the paddock that two F1 teams had broken the regulations for the cost cap, which is set at $145 million for every single team. And Red Bull Racing and Aston Martin were rumoured to have broken that cost cap. And the FIA have brought out many penalties for people who break the cost cap rules, including losing world titles, being eliminated from the season completely this season and next season. So especially in the position that Red Bull are in, that they really do not want to be making those mistakes, and they really need to make sure that they haven't breached the cost cap. Otherwise Max's World Championships could be in the bin in this case. Other things that we learnt during that Grand Prix is that Mercedes, despite Russell's good form and Hamilton's good alright form, they still have a lot of work to do. In that Grand Prix and in qualifying especially, they just weren't at the level that they should. Yes, Hamilton qualified in P3, but it just wasn't to be for the race. They still haven't got the race pace. And I'm sorry to Mercedes fans out there, but I have said in the past that they just are not where they used to be. I admit, Mercedes were a dominant team for the last 7 years, but now their time is done and Red Bull's time is moving back into the midst. Which brings me on to Ferrari, because Ferrari, as I said, looked really quick at the start of the season, but now they've just dropped off. They've dropped off completely. They have the right engine. They have a really quick car. We can see that in the Grand Prix, but they just need to sort out their strategies and their reliability issues, and then they should have a properly quick car. But yeah, another surprising outcome is that Alexander Albon, obviously he missed the last Grand Prix due to appendicitis and being in hospital, and then he had respiratory failure, which meant his heart stopped working, and then a couple of days later he jumped back into the car and raced in the most intense circuit on the F1 calendar by far, and indeed the hottest too. So massive congratulations to Albon for getting through those barriers and conquering that race. It didn't really go well for him. He had a few spin outs, but to have the guts to get in that car after what had happened in a short space of time, that takes a good mindset and good determination to do that sort of thing. For the rest of the season, though, Max could have won the championship in Singapore if he'd have won and Leclerc came 8th, or him won and Perez came 2nd and not get fastest lap. But it turned out Perez, with his inhumane tyre strategy and his ability to keep the tyres grip up to temperature and keep them going for a long period of time, he went on to win the Grand Prix. Max got 8th, which was disappointing. But inevitably, this weekend in Japan, he is just going to win the World Championship there and then. There's no rules whether he has to or doesn't have to do this sort of thing to get the championship points, but he will win the championship in Japan, what position he finishes, because he's still 106 points in front of Leclerc. So that is exciting days for us, and for me as a Red Bull supporter. Final thing, just in the broader aspects of F1, if you didn't know, in 2026 the engine regulations are changing completely. They're removing the MGUH, because they're bringing in massive electric batteries, electric motors into the cars to make them more economical. They're going to be running on bioethanol fuel to make them more efficient. They're not switching to electric completely, because then that brings in another debate of having Formula E and Formula 1, which I'll make another video on in the future. But another thing that's really exciting is that Audi is going to be coming into the sport in 2026 also, which is really exciting, because either they will come in as the 11th team on the grid, or they will come in and buy out another team. And in my opinion, I think they should either buy out Haas or Williams, because they are two bottom sort of tier teams. I know Haas have made their way up since then, but they are two bottom level teams. Williams, I think, could really benefit from Audi's help, because obviously Williams is part of the Mercedes brand, and it's two Germans clashing together, which I think could bring in experience and German expertise into the sport. And obviously Audi are Le Mans winners in the first place, so they have the motorsport pedigree there and then. But also for Haas, I think the German backing, obviously they've got Mick Schumacher in the car at the moment, and if they manage to keep him in the later seasons for 2026, obviously they've got a German car brand coming in, buying them out, and Mick Schumacher I think would be a really good fit for that team for Audi Motorsport. But yeah, that's all from me for this video. Like, comment and subscribe. I apologise for the lighting, but there we go. Obviously all of my videos are unedited, so I'm just waffling on now. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.